Welcome back. How can we catch errors in our programs? In JavaScript, there are two ways that we can go about it. One is the catch block or the try catch block, which we'll talk about, and also the catch method. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about the first one, and in the next video, we'll talk about this one. So how does it work? Well, a try-catch block simply works like this. If I had a function, let's call it fail, and this function inside of here does something simple. It uses a try block of code, and in here, try simply means, hey, just run this piece of code. And this try block can also be accompanied by a catch block. So try anything that's inside of this block. If inside of this block there's any errors, then handle them in here. In here, let's just say a console.log, and I'll say this works, and do a catch here that says, well, let's just say console.log, we have made an oopsie. If I run this fail function, well, I'll get an error because the last piece of the puzzle is that this catch block also accepts an error parameter. And this error parameter is whatever gets thrown from here as the error object. Let's see. Well, I get this works because nothing's happened in this code. This code just simply works, and the catch block was never called. This function, although it's called fail, has never failed. But what if we have something that fails in here? What if I misspell console.log and click run? There you go. Now it says we have made an oopsie. If I add the error object here and I click run, look at that. I get a reference error. Console is not defined. And I get a stack trace here, which is our where are we on the call stack. Because I'm using this REPL tool inside of the browser, the call stack is pretty big. If instead we did this on our console, you'll see that the stack trace is quite small. We just failed at the fail function. Okay, well, what if we do something like this? We'll fix console.log and instead actually throw a new error. And this error will be oopsie with exclamation marks. If I run this, I see that we have made an oopsie. This piece of code works because try is going to go line by line. We see that this is going to get logged, and then we're going to encounter an error. And as soon as we encounter an error, it's going to go, oh, all right, well, we have to handle it. Let's see, is there a catch here? Yep, there's a catch. Let's go here. I'll pass this new error instance into this error object, and now I have error right here. So that if I do error dot, let's say, name, I have the error. If I do stack, I have this crazy stack. And if I do message, I see that I have oopsie. And we're able to create a hurdle and catch an error like this. So we can wrap our entire piece of code into a try block and then catch the error if we want to handle it somehow. Now, the interesting thing here is that if I move this piece of code down here, what do you think will happen? Well, this is never going to get called, right? As soon as we encounter an error, our JavaScript engine says, all right, I'm stopping whatever I'm doing. I'm looking for a catch block. Is there anything to catch me? Oh yeah, here it is. If I remove this and I run this, well, I get an error because try won't let you do anything without the catch block. Or finally, what's this one? Let's talk about it. If I bring this back, everything is still working. We're getting an oopsie. We can also have a finally And the finally block says, hey, no matter what happens in the try catch block, finally at the end of it all, do something for me. So I can say console.log, still good. And if I run this, look at that, this piece of code still runs. Finally simply says, hey, I don't care what happens in the try, I don't care what happened in the catch. After you've done with all that business, finally do something here. So that we can always do something like returning fail. So that if I run this, look at that, our program returns something in the end, even if we have an error. Internally, we're handling the error on our own by just console logging it in this case. Now, the interesting thing here with the try catch block is that if we had any code outside of here, let's say console.log, exclamation marks over here, and a smiley face. Well, if I run this, this part is never going to get run because we're running the try block, which throws, which goes into the catch block, and then the finally gets run, which returns our function. Now, this try catch block, you may not have seen it that often in real code. It's oftentimes the simplest way to handle errors. This type of try catch block can be used to catch any type of synchronous errors. Now, this try catch block can be used in different ways. I can even nest them if I wanted to. For example, if I just remove everything here and just do try, and in here do another try block, and we'll call something here, which is a function that doesn't exist, so we'll throw an error. We'll do here a catch error, and in here, well, let's throw a new error in here, which is the actual error. And then outside of this, we have also the catch block that finally handles console.log, got it, which will be the actual error. So what's happening here? We have a try block that tries this code that inside of it has another try block that tries this code, which is going to fail on line 3, which is going to catch and throw once again another error that has the message of the previous error, and that's going to throw, which means that this piece of code will throw inside of this original try block, which will catch here. I know it looks a little bit confusing, but we can nest these things to handle catching at each step of our execution context. So that if I run this, and make sure that I get error over here, and click run, look at that, I have got it, I have a reference error. Something is not defined. So I'm catching this before it actually errors out, like it did before, where I don't catch it properly, and I get an actual red piece of text. Now, this try catch block works with synchronous errors or synchronous code. For example, if in here I had set timeout, which is asynchronous, and had a function that doesn't do anything, let's say a function in here that uses a fake variable that doesn't exist, we haven't declared it anywhere, and we'll run this in 1 second. If I click run here, do you see that? Everything is working. I get no errors. This catch block doesn't catch it because this code is asynchronous. And as we know, this exits our current call stack, goes all the way to the web API, the callback queue, the event loop, and gets popped onto this or pushed onto the stack after this whole piece of synchronous code is already done executing. So that's a problem, right? In JavaScript, we don't only write synchronous code. We write asynchronous code as well. So how do we handle that? Let's find out in the next video.